What's up guys, welcome back to episode 3 now of the Shady 80 L98 6 litre conversion. So last episode we just managed to get the engine and gearbox into this thing. So we're starting off here this morning. Main aim today is to get these pipes in, have a look at what we're working with for room and what we're going to do as far as the exhaust goes. So the owner originally had his heart set on doing a dual, like a twin 3-inch exhaust system. For anyone that actually watched our twin turboed LS180 series conversion, doing that sort of exhaust on an 80 series is a mega job. Huge amount of hours, lots of time. It's very hard to fit, and more so with this particular 80 having the big long range tank in the rear, makes it especially hard. There's no way that we could fit an exit over on the passenger side there. Both exits would have to be on the driver's side, which between the panhard and the diff and the pumpkin and everything here, it's pretty much just impossible to actually fit two 3-inch pipes. So I had looked and figured that a twin 2.5-inch was definitely manageable. Obviously we'd have to have both exits on the same side, and the outlet flange on the head is 2.5 inches as well, so that would have worked fine. But same thing, it's still a huge amount of fabrication work to do a complete custom twin 2.5-inch system. What would be much cheaper and easier and less hours would be to buy an off-the-shelf 3-inch exhaust for an 80 series, you know, a redback or something similar. Most aftermarket turbo systems will run a 3-inch all the way through. Use the tail section, probably back to the muffler section, back to about the back of the transfer case here, and then basically fabricate the twin 2.5 from the headers back to a merge, and then just join it to the rest of the 3-inch system and have it go from there. So that would be considerably less time, less effort, much easier to do. And we know from doing 6 litres in patrols where Marks adapters actually make a complete bolt-in exhaust that's a single 3-inch, that you know, a single 3-inch in these things with a mild cam, they go really well. They sound good. It doesn't sacrifice any power at all. You know, a single 3-inch for an aspirated LS is plenty sufficient. So I put that to him this morning and he's pretty happy just to go that way, try and shave out some cost, because it is, yeah, I can't stress enough how much time it takes to do that full custom sort of setup. So I'm trying to get onto a few companies about trying to get just an exhaust system that's split up. So I basically just need the muffler section and then the rear over diff to tail section is all we need. And then we'll get the rest of the parts that we need to fabricate from the headers into the merge. But we've got to get the headers on to check it. So we'll get this down. I still haven't done up all the bell housing bolts, so we'll probably do all that first. We'll drop this thing down, get these headers in there and have a look at what we're dealing with for room. I've talked to the owner about the fact that we're probably going to have to relocate that second battery as well. He's pretty happy to do that, but he has recently ordered a new set of drawers. So I'll see if we can try and get a bit more information about his drawer system, and try and figure out basically how we can relocate it in a way that it's going to integrate with his new setup, so that it's not something that he just has to redo later on, sort of thing. I hate moving things and customizing things and spending time doing stuff knowing that it's just got to be redone again later. It's not what we're about. So we'll try and get some information off him about that and just continue on our merry way with this conversion. It's all coming together pretty well now. So as well as that, like I talked about at the end of the last episode, now that that's in the car, we've freed up a whole heap of space on the floor here. We've used a heap of his conversion gear that was on the pallet that's now in the car. So another thing that's going to be in order today is a huge big cleanup of this place. Get it back to being more operational. Most importantly, so that we can keep going on the big HQ here behind us, which has been patiently waiting because we've just been absolutely clogged up with too much stuff to even move around. So anyway, we'll do a big cleanup today too. All right guys, heaps and lots of more and more fun. So we've run into another issue. So this is our passenger side pipe. You can see down there that front runner is hard against the engine mount. There's nowhere else it can go, and that's how far the bolt is from the slot. So alright guys, so I'm going to get the crane back over here and loosen the engine mounts and just lift the engine up a little bit and try and get this pipe in properly. I don't know, it's not looking good to me though, but I'll try that first and give it a go. Alright guys, it's in. Very squishy, very hard, but it's in there and the engine's back down. So we'll lift this thing up and have a look from underneath at what we're working with. Alright, so that's a bit rough.
And it's touching that nut on that little thing off the sump. It's hard against that too. So yes, it's going to be very tight. Actually, just looking, and this engine mount's not all the way down. So it's obviously being held up by something, which is probably these pipes on this heat shield. Looking at that. So yeah, this is just not going to work. Righto guys, so at the moment I'm thinking the engine brackets are the wrong way around. See, the passenger side one is a lot bigger, higher, and the driver's side one here, oh sorry, wrong way around. Driver's side one, higher at the moment, passenger side a lot smaller, like a lot lower. But if you were to pull them both off and just basically pull that straight onto that side, and likewise with that, they'd still be the same orientation, the same way around to work, but you just have the higher one over here on the passenger side, which would lift the motor and move it that way just a tad, which would probably give us the room we need for this pipe to actually fit without resting on everything on this side. So it's about the only thing that makes sense at the moment. So I guess we start the super fun job of swapping those, which is going to be zero fun. Alright guys, so I got the one off the passenger side here. You get it off, and I'm going to lose the bolts out trying to show the camera, but flip it over, you can see there, definitely L for left, which is on this side, the passenger side, which is the left if you're sitting in the car looking at the engine. That would be the left side. Now it's obviously good to check that, make sure we weren't going crazy and didn't purposely have them the wrong way around. But obviously the marks, adapters, drawings for the engine mounts is very, not very descriptive. There's just a left and a right, and that's all there is, and it just shows you a picture of how the mounts go together, but they don't particularly tell you which side of the engine they're referring to. But if you check the instructions for the high mount kit, in particular this one, when they're referring to the high mount kit, they are referring to left hand alt and right hand compressor, which means that they definitely do always, well, they are referencing the engine as if you were sitting in the car, which would mean that this is definitely the right way around, which I'm going to go ahead and leave at that point. That is definitely the way that the part numbers, it's definitely the way they're meant to be. So I don't know what's going on. We've never had this sort of issues with anything from Marks before, as far as just flat out not fitting properly. So I don't know, we'll have to do some more investigating into these pipes and check the part numbers on the pipes and stuff. But for now, I'm going to put this back together the way it was. All right, guys, double checked all the part numbers on the pipes and stuff, and it all seems to be correct and how it should be. So there's not really much else that we can do about it. It just is what it is. Righto, guys, so just chuck the pipe back in without the heat shield over the engine mount, just in case it was the pressure on the engine mount that was pushing the pipe towards the engine or something like that, the way the mount wasn't all the way down. But you can see now, mount's all the way down, no pressure on the pipe, tightened up against the head with no heat shield, and it doesn't change where it sits here. It's still hard against this adapter plate, and still hard against this bolt on the sump. So like I said, you could probably still get a flange on that, especially if the flange was not as thick as that, and you could sort of put a lid in and push it up and do it up, and it would do up. But it just seems so wild to have it that close. But I mean, realistically, it shouldn't really move. You know, it's bolted to the engine. Engine's moving, pipe's moving with it. So I don't know. All right, guys, quick little segment, little update on the Shady 80. So after that last little clip there, I got that passenger side back in. We haven't had a chance to really continue on with this thing. We did receive the exhaust that we ordered, which we're going to adapt, but we are still waiting on the other 2.5 inch material that we need to actually fabricate the merge and everything else. So after a fair bit of thinking, we are just going to try and run this passenger side pipe the way it is. So we reckon that we can get a flange in and get the 2.5 inch off it with, you know, a little bit of clearance to the box and engine, which, as I sort of talked about, you know, the pipe's bolted to the engine's what's got to move, the pipe's going to move with it,
by all accounts, that bit of clearance should be plenty because it should never really be getting any closer. But we are going to have to sort out something to do with this heat shield that's meant to be on this passenger side. We are going to have to modify that or something to ensure that there's clearance and the pipe doesn't hit that or rest on it. So the new water temp fitting adapter that broke arrived from Mark, so it's here as well. So, you know, everything's here to continue on going with this thing. It's just that since we got the motor and box and stuff in and created some room in the shed so that we could continue doing some other things around the place, we've just had so much other stuff to do. I spent 2 days this week just running around getting stuff and getting parts together. So it just got to a bit of a stalemate where we just didn't really have the time to sort of keep continuing on with this thing. But one of the biggest things that I've been trying to find a solution for while we haven't had time to really work on it, I've been still trying to think and find solutions for things that I know are going to be a problem. Firstly is the snorkel and airbox situation. So, you know, as you can see, all of the paint and panel and stuff has already been done on this thing. The owner did say that if we felt the need to just replace that snorkel with a stainless one if we wanted to. Me and Rex talked about it, looked at the snorkel. We reckon that for an aspirated 6-litre LS, shouldn't be too much of a restriction. Not enough of a restriction that we think that it's going to be worth the time and expense of replacing it at the very least. The other thing that we thought about was the fact that given that all the paint and panel and everything's already been done, even if we did replace the snorkel or even just make a new one for this thing, it's going to be entering the guard and everything at the same place. We're going to be trying to cover the same route so that it doesn't affect any paint and panel and he doesn't have to get anything like that sorted out or fixed. So basically for that reason, whatever we want to do for an airbox is going to pretty much have this same intake place. Yeah, that's going to be the same, because even if it turns out that this is going to restrict it too much, whatever we replace it with, we're going to be bringing it in at the same point. So the idea is to just find a solution for an airbox that's going to work. And then, you know, once we've got that sorted out on the dyno, we can do some testing with, you know, disconnecting the snorkel and seeing if it makes a difference, seeing if it's actually any sort of restriction. We can start doing that obviously on the dyno and worry about it then. But for now, just want to get an airbox sorted. The other cool thing, I think there is some out here so I can show you. Here we go, here's a little slither, that'll do. So, 3.5 inch oval stainless. We had to buy a heap for exhaust work for Turbo GU over there. So we've got a fair bit in stock. Took a piece of this and had a look. Check it out. Whoop, it's gonna fit, it's gonna work. That is going to do the job. So that will save us heaps of time and effort, which as you guys know, when it comes to these things, time is money. So if we can leave a secondary battery there, run this 3.5 oval through that gap, it'll be happy days. So there will be enough room. This sort of isn't quite in its final position again because I started taking it out. But there is enough room that 3.5 is going to fit, which means as long as we get the right airbox coming out of the intake manifold, do a turn, 3.5 is obviously already bigger than the snorkel. So, you know, it's not going to be a restriction for an aspirated 6-litre. So 3.5 is going to be plenty big and it fits. That way we don't have to relocate the battery. So as long as we get the airbox and everything right, that'll be happy days. But the problem was, I've been looking around at pretty much every airbox on the market for these things. Every custom one. The Radius Fab looked like it was going to work the best. Radius Fab do one that go pretty much in this exact position. The outlet, or the inlet I should say, from the snorkel would have worked perfectly. The airbox would have fit really nice, and they do a lid which is specifically for an LS, which comes off the top sort of in this direction. But from looking at it on their website and looking from what I can tell, I reckon that the lid and the outlet is going to point directly at our high mount AC setup, because on their website, their picture of an LS converted one isn't running the high mount AC. And looking at where the outlet comes in relation to the filler, which is normally on this cover, obviously, yeah, I'm pretty sure that is going to point directly into our AC compressor, which obviously is going to cause a problem. So that sucks, but I did find this morning on eBay. Good old eBay. So it's just a generic airbox, high flow, 4-wheel drive thing. It's fairly well priced, really. As you can see, 3.5 in, 3.5 out. And from the dimensions, it's going to fit really well. As you can see, that's 3.5 pipe. Then the actual diameter of the box, it's not super big. It's only 23 centimeters or something like that. Yeah, 23 centimeters.
15 centimeters high for the actual box, and then 24 with the pipe off the top, which from what I can see, as well as obviously all the holes in the lid appear to be evenly spaced, which means you can orientate that lid however you need to, which to me looks like it would perfectly fit here. It would mate up to that fine. 3.5 in and out is no restriction. That's going to be great. And if we're going to clock that lid however we want, we should be able to point that outlet off the lid directly this way, and then obviously transition it to oval, get it through this area and back in, and that should be, from what I can tell, the cheapest, best, easiest solution for this issue. And yeah, we don't particularly think that snorkel's really going to create any issues for what we want to do with this. But obviously, like I said, we'll get it on the dyno, we'll do some testing and ensure that. And but like I said, even if that is a problem, we've got to make another snorkel or buy another snorkel. It's going to be going into the guard entry the same point, so that he doesn't have to repaint his guard and do all that. So bit of a moot point, doesn't really affect the airbox. So I'm going to go ahead and order that airbox, try and get this thing working. That's the idea. Sorry about that really long drawn out clip there, guys. Just wanted to sort of get out everything I've been trying to sort out, but it's nearly sort of time where I can start diving back into this thing. Realistically, not really a whole lot to do. Finish off the conversion from Marks, which, you know, again, radiator hoses and stuff like that. Finish mounting the fans to the radiator and get the radiator back in. Finish a few things like that. Then we just got to look at pretty much fab the exhaust and wiring, and obviously this airbox setup and stuff like that. But yeah, she's cracking along pretty well. Just need some more time to get in and get it done. But yeah, super busy at the moment. But anyway, thanks for watching anyway, guys. That'll be enough for an episode. Shady 80 is going to be a bit of a rig. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this cam actually does go. I really hope it does surprise us. I really hope that it's better than we think it's going to be. But, you know, either way, this thing's going to sound and look angry as. So anyway, yeah, so single 3-inch exhaust, which is going to be plenty for what we want to do. I think I already talked about all that, so that's what ended up happening. So that's going to be cheapest and best solution for that. But yeah, crack along with it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out. See you. Bye.